Welcome to Relatively Speaking, the podcast where we dive into the beautiful chaos of everyday life with your hosts, Taylor
and Caitlin. Join us each week as we chat about trending topics, swap tips, and offer heartfelt advice. Think of us as your new besties, ready to tackle the ups and downs of life right alongside you. So get comfy and let's talk about it all, relatively speaking.
Hi, besties!
Hey, besties! We are here today and we have a special guest speaker, Ariana. She's actually my sister and she is sitting in to give her opinion and weigh in on this week's topic. But before we get to that, how was your week, Tay?
It was good. I'm feeling a little rough. I don't know what's going on with me. I don't know why I feel like, I feel like it's allergies, but I don't know.
The kids' noses were a little bit runny today, so I bet you it was. I gave them allergy medicine before bed.
So. Both of my kids' noses were runny, but it was like clear, which is like way too TMI, but like that's what Colin always says, like, well, what color is it? And I'm like, why does that matter? He's like, it matters. So I'm like, okay, well, it's clear. And he's like, then you're in the clear. I'm like, okay. So yeah, I'm like plagued, but it was my first day back subbing. I'm a substitute teacher in my free time.
PRN.
Yeah, that used to be my only job, so I would do it like as much as possible, but now I have another job, so just do it. I mean, I'll still probably just do it as much as I can, but yeah, I was back today with the high schoolers, so I was with 9th graders, and like school just started like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So they still are like
horrible.
They didn't know where the office was, like they didn't know any of the rules, and I'm like, okay, which made me feel better because I'm like, this is actually my 3rd year subbing now, which is crazy.
That is crazy to think about, honestly.
This is my 3rd school year, and so I'm like, and I did go to school there, but things are so different now than when I went to school there. Like, they have iPads now. Last year and like since COVID, they had Chromebooks.
Yeah.
And now they have iPads, and I'm like,
just think how much money that costs.
I don't even want to think about it because every teacher also has an iPad. Yeah. And
how many getting a deal?
And I know that CMS also has iPads, and I don't know if like the younger grades, like middle school, has iPads or not. I don't know. Because they had Chromebooks, so I don't know if they switched everyone. Because I literally, what I found out today when I walked in? Like, I didn't know up until this point. This is like brand new information to me. So, yeah, that's literally the highlight of my week. I've just been home with these kids, so they're
still working
overtime. Mm-hmm. He's like, I'll just do it as long as they have it. I'm like, that's so great. I love that for you. So he worked today. He had to work today.
Today is
Friday.
Oh.
Yeah, with the kids. So I'm like, good luck. Because we just switched Sullivan over to 1 nap.
So it's better for him or not?
No, because he wanted to put him down for 2 naps because then he sleeps longer. Yeah. But I'm like, no, don't mess up my nap schedule. Like, I've been working on this, like, and you're gonna try and mess it up. Like, I'm gonna lose it. But he did make it. He fell asleep during lunch. Colin sent me a picture and he's like this. I'm like, dude.
Great.
It's because, like, when he gets tired and I'm there, I'm like, oh, okay, let's take him outside or go
do something.
But Colin can't because he's trying to work, so. Yeah, what's new with you? What's up with you?
Not much. I literally have just been working all week. My coworker had an unexpected emergency, and so she's been out. Mm-hmm. And so my workload has kind of doubled. And so I've literally just been working preschool drop-off and sleeping, cleaning. Literally nothing else. I don't think I've done anything else.
You just cleaned. The kitchen looks very nice.
I know.
I
just told Ariana today that I have been keeping it clean. That's
the real task.
Yeah, at the end of every night, I'm exhausted, but I've been trying because I know this weekend we're going to work down here, so I don't want to have a dirty kitchen while I'm down here doing something else.
But do you, like, try to clean up after your kids every day? Like, do you clean the living room, like, clean the toys every single day?
Yeah.
Do you?
I try to.
Oh, that's part of parenting they didn't tell you about. Because I like to put the stuff back where it goes. Like, I like to put, like, because I have, like, bins like you had, and I try to put the same stuff in the thing, because if not, it's just a mess. That's about to take me out. It's about to take me out. I even labeled them.
Girl, I used to put the play kitchen, I used to put everything in the fridge that went in the fridge, everything in the cupboard that went in the cupboard, everything in the stove. No, no more. I've got a bin. I've got 2 bins actually, and it just gets dumped because I don't I don't have the time anymore.
I feel so bad when my kids come over and you have the stuff in the little zippers and she just rips it out. She just dumps it all over the floor.
I do try to keep the stuff in the zippers because that stuff falls to the bottom of the toy box. But
yeah, the toy box stresses me out. When we come here, I'm like,
why?
Because
it's just not organized.
Well, no, not that it's not organized, but it's just like all the stuff is in this one big box. And like, what if they're like, oh, I want that teapot, and it's the bottom of the, and they're ripping everything out.
Well, they normally don't do that. Their little gnat brains see, oh, what's on top? That's what I want. Except for Emma, she always wants the Fisher Price Little People.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter where they're at. Tonight she wanted them, and it was like 5 minutes till bed. And I looked for like 2 minutes.
No, I don't let my kids get any toys out 5 minutes before bed.
We're not getting them out. Sorry. And she threw a little fit about it. I felt kind of bad. But
yeah, no, we don't get toys out 5 minutes before bed. If they want to do anything before bed, I'm like, get a book. You want to read a book? That's what we can do. If not, go upstairs. Like, those are your choices. We're not getting toys out even an hour before bed. I don't know why. We don't need to be starting anything fresh an hour before bed.
So let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Chadwives this week.
I overarchingly was thinking of this, and we had like a few content ideas, and I was like, Tradwives, Amish people, what else did I say? Cults. That's really out there, but when I was like writing my ideas down, I had just finished watching the Eat.
I thought you were going to say Eat, Pray, Love.
Eat, Pray, Love, that's what I wanted to say in my mind. Keep Sweet, Pray and Obey, which is about the polygamy like cult basically, which this is like not that they're in it, but the sister wives are part of that same fundamentalist Mormon religion, and they practice polygamy. Like, that's the only,
I feel like that's the only thing that they follow.
Well, like the Mom Talk ladies, they're oh, don't tell me, the other type of Mormons, like they call them like the mainstream Mormons.
Fundamentalists?
No, the fundamentalists are the ones that do polygamy. The other ones are LDS, Latter-day Saints.
Oh, I just thought it was all the same.
No, because it's just like regular, it's like any religion. You have like fundamentalists, and then you have like mainstream.
Yeah, but we're jumping like way ahead of where we want to be.
Well, yeah, but that's where I started thinking about it, because when I watched it, it's like a cult. And like the wives in the polygamy, there's like multiple wives. You know, there was like, I think the one guy that got arrested. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you're familiar with this.
I feel like I watched part of it, but not the whole thing.
Did you watch it? Mm-hmm. Have you heard about it?
No. It's older, right? I mean, it's not like brand new.
It was a few years ago.
Yeah.
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 I'm going to say like 2015.
It's very documentary style.
Yeah. Well, they're just so like underground, like you just don't hear much about them.
Yeah.
Because they're like, you know, off the face of the earth. Like, they don't do anything. So, the guy, Warren Jeffs, is like the guy that got arrested. He had like 68 wives, which is insane. So his dad was like the prophet. He was like the main guy. And then when he died, the son took all of his wives and made them his wives. Yes. So like his mothers, because in polygamy, like they view them all as their mother. And so he like took his mothers and like married them and like had children with them, even though like they would have been like his sibling. It's weird. I don't know. But that was like where my mind was when I started like thinking about this episode like this week, because I just watched that.
So, do you consider yourself a traditional wife?
I would assume so.
So tell us the ways we can.
I guess like what is a traditional wife?
Yeah, like what ways do you think you are a traditional wife?
Oh boy, so like I don't have a like traditional job. I don't work outside of them other than like when I teach classes for doTERRA. So, and that's not a full-time thing. I raise our children. I don't have like a nanny. I have like a temporary babysitter if I need somebody. But for the most part, like I am the person that like takes care of the household, takes care of the children, everything with the children as far as like doctor's visits and stuff like that. And then
you're a good cook.
Of course, like the cooking and the cleaning and everything else that comes with the household. I feel like in that sense I'm more traditional. Yeah. Maybe.
You do all of it by yourself? Like you cook all the meals, do all the cleaning and everything?
Yeah, except for if I get behind and Steven's available and I'm like, okay, can you go throw that load of laundry over?
Yeah.
Or, I don't know, like there's something that needs lifting that I can't lift. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay,
Or if
do
something
this.
needs smoked.
Right, but I burnt our smoker up, so we can't use it right now. So
that sounds like traditional wife stuff.
it wasn't completely my fault. The smoker needed cleaned, and it has like this weird malfunction thing that it did happen to do to me. Steven likes to smoke meat, so like that's his thing.
Yeah.
If we want to eat smoked meat, or sometimes we'll smoke meat for other people, and that's only if he has time.
Do you feel like you are a traditional wife at all?
I think it's weird because when I first got married, like my parents didn't have a traditional marriage. Like they both worked full-time jobs and like they did, I would say, pretty even amount of like housework, cooking, all of that stuff because they both worked full-time. And so growing up, that's what I saw, and that's kind of how I expected my marriage to be. But then when like when we first got married, we were married for almost 2 years before we had Sonora, and we shared responsibility because we both worked full time. And so I feel like when it was just us and it was just our marriage, no, it wasn't traditional. But when we had Sonora, I was like, I lost my job, I got laid off, and so I was like, well, we made the decision together that I was going to stay home. It wasn't like, oh, I want to stay home, which I did, especially like when you first have a baby and you like don't know what's going on. I'm like, I can't even think about going back to work. Like, I guess at first I thought I would go back to work eventually, but like we made that decision like, okay, well, you'll just stay home for now and then we'll like figure it out. But it's been, she's like 2.5, so I work part-time. Like I have 2 jobs, but I still would consider myself a stay-at-home mom. And I would say that I do pretty much all the cooking. Colin made dinner tonight, which is like rare that he makes dinner at all. He's just not a very good cook. And I would say I do probably like 90% of the cleaning. And then like whenever I'm at my job, Colin watches the kids. Like we don't have somebody else watch them. So I would say that like partially, but I do still like there's still things that I like have him do, but it's nothing that like he likes doing certain things. Like he likes to vacuum. Okay, knock yourself out. Like I do make him fold all of our laundry. I hate folding laundry, but that's like his only like true responsibility. And he mows the grass. Does your husband mow the grass?
Occasionally, but I've actually been mowing it.
I like mowing the grass.
I love mowing
I like mowing the grass, but he like is like obsessed with it. Like it's like, oh, I want to mow the grass.
Well, tell Ariana. I guess you don't know where she lives. Taylor lives in a development.
Yes.
Tell her how long it takes Colin to mow your grass.
Like 3 or 4 hours. It's criminal.
Word.
So when we first moved there, we didn't have grass because we had built the house. So it was like, oh, a little weed whack and trim it up. Well, then when the grass started to grow, we just had a push mower. But like, we live on 0.3 acres. Let's just reiterate that. Colin like would go out with his push mower and he would be out. He would do the front yard. It would take him like an hour. He would go to the backyard. That would take him like an hour and a half. And then he would weed whack and trim. And then he has to like, because we live like we have like set sidewalks and stuff. So he has to like sweep it up. Yeah. So now we have a driving mower. It still takes him like almost just as long.
Oh my word.
Because he push mows the edges. And now we just got a fence. So now he has to push mow around the fence, inside and out. And then he does the driving mower. And then he cleans it up with a weed whacker. I'm like,
if you're listening, Colin, we do love you.
And I'm like, dude, if I go out there, like sometimes when the kids are both napping, like this is like I just got them both on the same nap schedule. I'll get out there. I'm in and out 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
And he's like, wow, it looks really good. I'm like, yeah, you won't believe how long it can be. But I think that that's also just like,
that's the difference between women and men.
He's just very, very slow. And I wouldn't say he's thorough. He's just slow. Like anything that he tries to do, I can do it in easily half the time. Easily.
Yeah.
Anything.
Well, it's because we're used to multitasking everything.
Well, I'm used to a screaming child in my ear. Like, get me out of this cart at the grocery store and like get me out of the car. And I'm like, I'm not dealing with it. I don't know. It's like their brains are rewired differently. Like the kid is screaming and he's like, this doesn't bother me at all. Don't care.
Yep. Well, I just wanted to go over a couple points.
Well, wait.
What?
Would you consider yourself a traditional wife?
Trying to skip over.
You are the only one that works like a full-time job.
I do. So, okay. I feel like it's complicated because growing up, I feel like our parents, I feel like they put on the persona that it was a traditional marriage.
It totally was not.
But it wasn't.
I feel like one of them was always gone, but then when they were both there, it was like mass chaos. But
yeah,
mom with her like 50 side gig jobs.
Yeah, because your mom didn't have a job, right? Like she didn't work.
No, my mom has not worked full time since she was like 21. But nonetheless, I feel like we didn't have that growing up, like in any sense, like even with our grandparents, and seeing how our parents were, never wanted to be a traditional wife, like never. And then in my long-term relationship, that was horrible too. And I knew from that I didn't want to be a traditional wife. Like I always wanted to be a strong, independent woman. Mm-hmm. And even Pappy would tell me, like, don't ever rely on a man for money. Just make your own money.
That's what my mom always told me.
And so that's like my mindset is I need to always make my own money. I need to always have my own thing. I always need to have my way out, my go bag, like be ready. Yeah. And so when I started dating David, it was so hard because David is the type of guy that wants a traditional wife, but also made me want to be a traditional wife.
Yeah.
And so we got married, everything was great. And I feel like I did a decent job at trying really hard to be a traditional wife, even though I'm still working full time. And then when I got pregnant with my first, we were deciding whether or not I was going to stay home. And literally until like 2 weeks before I had him, it might have been a couple weeks more than that, but it was kind of close. Mm-hmm. So I actually made the decision because I was sick over it. I'm like, how am I not going to work? Yeah. How am I not going to have a paycheck?
Yeah.
And it wasn't even that it wasn't that we couldn't afford it. But what if something happened? What if he left me? And then I'm like high and dry without a job?
Oh, I never worry about that.
Well,
Baby, you couldn't afford the alimony I made. I talk about that all the time.
I just always have had that mindset though. Like, and not that anything has ever happened. I mean, we're solid, but
it's still like a worry. I think that like any woman that stays home, that's like something that's in the back of their mind. Even if like something happened to him and like, you know, he couldn't work anymore. Yeah.
Well, I spent a year and 3 months. A year and 3 months because I had my first and stopped working, and we got pregnant rather quickly with our second on purpose. And I knew once I had that baby that I need to go back. Like mentally, I was in a really bad place. I have horrible postpartum depression and anxiety. And if you're going to listen to this podcast, I'll probably say it like 50 million times again because it was so severe. But I knew that I had to get back into the workplace. I needed stimulation in my brain. And I don't know if it was with having kids, but also knowing that
well, you were working girly. Like, you'd always been working. Like, you started working when you were how old?
I was like 14.
Yeah, same. I started working at 14. Now, mind you, it was just like part-time jobs. Yeah. But it was weird for me not to work because I went from 14 until 24. Yeah.
So I literally applied to like 72 jobs until I finally got this job that I have now.
Which I think is a good job.
Yeah, I started 6 weeks after I had Emma. And it's remote, it's work from home, and it's great. I'm in accounting, which I absolutely love. That's what I love to do. But when I started this job, David and I definitely had some, I don't want to say butting of the heads, but of course I was standing up for myself saying like, okay, so I'm working now and it's not going to be that I can't do everything. You can't. And I remember the first time I made a chore chart and I'm like, if you just pick one thing a day to do off this list, like that would really help. And he said, when do you expect me to do this? I said, when do you expect me to do the rest of that list in a day? And, you know, he's not a horrible person or anything, but it was just that shift of me doing everything to like actually needing help. And, you know, we've come a long way but I still do most of the cooking. He will cook. He did cook tonight too.
Friday night they're feeling
he made burgers, but I do all the cleaning.
Yeah.
I tell him he needs to take out the trash. I will not take out the trash for a man. I'm sorry. And
if it's full, I'll just take it.
No.
See, but that's
No.
like, I feel like with same on the other, like on the reverse, like my parents didn't have traditional roles, so like I don't view like taking out the trash or like mowing the grass or doing like home projects a man's job either. Like I feel like that's just like something I could do as well. And I do. I think that drives Colin absolutely nuts. And I'm like, let me go hang up this picture. He's like, that's a man's job. I'm like, no.
I think that when I married David and I started shifting my perspective to trying to be that traditional wife, then I looked at him to be like, okay, you need to do these traditional things. And when some of those things weren't happening, it felt like hurtful almost because like I'm mentally struggling to do this because this doesn't come naturally to me. So I need you to do the other things. Do you know who your rich bestie is? Have you ever seen her?
Yeah, where she goes, sprinkle, sprinkle. Is that the
No. That girl, that's sprinkle girl. Sprinkle lady. No, your rich bestie, she said she did an interview, which is not like her typical thing. She talks about like deals and money and like, I do like watching her, but she was on an interview and she said, I actually wrote it down. I actually had to look it up because I remembered she said it. She said, if you want a traditional wife, you have to be a traditional man. You can't expect traditional wife things if you aren't going to do traditional man things. And she actually says, you can't expect traditional wife things if you don't have traditional man money. But, it's a two-way street with anything. But I don't know. That's been my struggle. I feel like half of my brain always wants to be that strong, independent woman and do my own thing, make my own money, secure myself. But then the other half of my brain is trying to be a traditional wife and a traditional mother because I do want that. But I just have this fear of all kinds of stuff in my head because of stuff that we went through in our childhood. But I'm trying. But I was looking, these are some things I wrote down that I thought were good points for a traditional wife, like traditional wife. So one thing that I saw a lot was prefers dresses. I think that I just want to erase that off the planet right now because people always
Is that
say,
a traditional wife thing?
they say like, oh, like think 50s housewife. No, traditional wife, I'm not going to think 50s housewife. Traditional wife, I'm thinking like way before that. You know what I mean? Anyway.
It's a very feminine.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's why people say that.
And they say like looking nice.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, do you like try to look nice like when he gets home, or do you just like
he gets what he gets?
Yeah, that's how I feel too.
Like, it's not that I want to be a bum, but like if we lounged at home and I had no plans outside the home, but like I cleaned and I made the meals, then like I'm not gonna go freshen up right before he comes out because I'm getting ready for bed. Like, this is the end of my day too.
Yeah. No, I don't. This is about as good as it gets.
Yeah, no, it's athleisure wear. Slippies.
I don't think Colin expects. Well, I don't think Colin expects me to be a traditional wife at all because I don't think that really fits my personality. I think just being a stay-at-home mom. I think being a stay-at-home mom and being a traditional wife can kind of go hand in hand, but they are different. Like, to be a traditional wife, you have to choose that. Like, you have to be like, just because you're a stay-at-home mom, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to do anything other than care for your children. Like, if I just cared for my kids and watched them, like, that would be being a stay-at-home mom. It like didn't clean or do anything. Yeah. But I think that like cooking the meals, cleaning the house, like taking the responsibility of the home is like, that's what a traditional wife does. Whereas like being a stay-at-home mom just means like during the hours of like 9 to 5, you're watching the kids. And then like when your husband comes home, then you're going together to do all the stuff. But I don't know. Like, I just feel like I took that on because I'm like, well, I'm here all day. Like, I'm here. I should just make dinner. Like, I should just clean the house. Like, I'm not just going to sit here all day and do nothing. Like, which, I mean, watching kids is a lot. But I feel like when you have kids, you usually like learn to balance that stuff.
I was just thinking, I have been so early for pre-K drop-off. I mean, I know it's still early in the year. But, like, to the point where I'm, like, almost annoyed with myself because I'm like, I don't want to go over and stand with everybody for this long.
They get there so early. I show up, like, 10 minutes early and everybody's already standing out there. And I'm like, That's ridiculous.
Well,
These
my
people are
kids-
eager to drop their kids off.
My kids want to go run around in, like,
Yeah.
the courtyard, and Emma has already fallen. Like,
I did see you. I did see you. And I could just see, like, the back of you, and I could just tell your kids are just running
Yes.
laps.
And so that's the main reason. Like, they're gonna get hurt, and then they're gonna be screaming, crying, and my kids don't care who's listening. Like, if they get hurt, it's like level 10. So anyway, where was I going with this?
You've been early.
I've been so early. I have 3 kids. There was a time where just getting one together seemed like a lot. And you just get better at it.
I think you just learn. Like, you just learn what works and what... Especially because every kid's different. Like, the temperament and, like, things like that. You just learn how to, like... And that's, like, something that, like, with Colin not being home all the time, like, watching him do stuff with the kids, I'm like, dude, you should just know. Like, Sonora's been having tantrums, and he's just like, no, you can't do that. I'm like, that ain't gonna work. That's not gonna work. But I don't want to, like, disarm him. I just, like, let him, but I'm, like, standing back there like, nah, that ain't gonna work. But I'm just gonna stay here and watch.
Good luck, buddy. Another thing was, well, let me just go through a couple of these that we've already hit. Like, keeper of the home, dressing up for your husband, home-cooked meals and desserts.
Oh, I don't be making no desserts. Well, actually, that's a lie. I don't make a dessert with, like, dinner, but, like, once a week,
make other stuff.
I will, like, because that's how a lot of this does based on Colin. Colin's parents, I would say, have a traditional marriage. Colin's mom worked, but she does all the cooking, all the cleaning. And I'm talking all. I've never seen Colin's dad make a meal. I've never seen him clean. And I don't blame him. Like, I don't think that there's anything wrong with their relationship. I don't think there's anything wrong with tradwives at all. If that's what works in your relationship, go ahead. I mean, to each their own, right? But, like, I've never seen him clean anything. Like, he does, like, laundry occasionally, but, like, I don't think he's ever cleaned up or, like, done anything. And when I first started dating Colin, I was like, this is crazy. Like, this is crazy. But, like, Colin's mom always looks nice. She always has her hair done. She always has her makeup done. Like, she looks nice. Like, she is, like, the true trad wife, but she does work. So I feel like you can have it both ways, like, if you really wanted to be a trad wife, quote unquote, and work, I feel like you could make that work too. Like,
but did she always work? Like, even when
she stayed home briefly, but only, like, it was, like, less than 5 years, I think she stayed home. Okay. So.
Simple living.
Amish.
Not spending money if you're a stay-at-home mom.
I've had a hard time with that. What do you think about that, Nari?
So probably, like, right after we got married, and then we married in 2014, and then we had our first child in January of 2016. And so I worked from 2014 until we had our first, and I don't know, it felt kind of weird, like, after we started having children, not making money, but spending the money. Like, you see the paycheck come in, and then you're the one that sends it back out. And that felt weird to me at first, but now I'm like, well, money's money. Like, you're all gonna die. I mean, we're all gonna die someday, not to sound like doomsday, but, like, you can't take it with you. It's just money.
Yeah.
Everything is just, like, an item. It doesn't really matter.
Well, so you do all the shopping for your family, though, right? Like, you buy all the groceries and everything?
All the groceries, pay all the bills.
Yeah. Okay, so you pay all the bills.
Yeah.
See, Colin pays the bills. And I feel like that was, like, for me, I was like, not that I'm not good with money, but Colin is way better with money and, like, better with numbers and stuff. So I don't pay the bills. Like, even if it's a bill that's, like, for me, like, I just got, like, a WellSpan bill, and I'm like, you're gonna have to do that one. Yeah, I don't do any of the bills.
I'm not the best at it. Actually, it bothers me because, I don't know, I'm just not great at it. I wish I was more organized with it, maybe. I think Steven would like to help with it, and maybe he would prefer to do them. I don't know. We've talked about it several times, but he's so busy with his job that he doesn't have, like, the mental capacity to do it at the end of the day, so it's kind of fallen on me, and this is what we get.
I think that that's one thing I've learned over, like, the past, like, 2 years staying home, is that, like, sometimes it's, like, not really a choice. Like, since I started working part-time, like, Colin has to watch the kids when I'm not there, and it's, like, we don't see each other that much, but it's, like, I feel like that's just kind of, like, the stage of life that we're in, like, and it would be so much worse if I worked full-time. Like, we would never see each other, and we would never see the kids. So it's, like, harder to do it this way, because when he's working, I'm at home, and when I'm working, he's at home, and so, like, we barely get any, like, Saturdays are our only day together at all, which I feel like is like Saturdays and Sundays, but I work on Sundays. So, like, that's like, I think it's hard right now, but I don't think it'll always be that way.
Yeah.
And I'm sure one day I will go back to work full time, but I'm just kind of like taking it day by day right now. Do you think that you'll ever go back to work?
Probably once all my kids are in school, I would probably find something part time or like really amp up my doTERRA stuff if that's a possibility at that time. But yeah, back to the like money thing after we started having kids, like it was more of like a mental block, like after I wasn't working to be like, yes, it's okay to like buy myself this shirt that's on sale, or like it took me a while to actually get over that. And I think we had talked about it like right after, where I was like, hey, like this is a thing, like I don't feel great, like my shirts are like falling apart and they don't fit me because I just had a baby, and like I don't want to go buy new shirts because they cost money. But now I'm like, let's go get the Starbucks and let's go to the Goodwill, because I don't know, like I deal with the kids all day and I do all the housework, and so like, yeah, why not? Like, why not? I'm not saying just blow it and like, waste it, but if I'm going to the Goodwill to buy stuff for our house to make it lovely and like fun toys for the kids that they might want updated or whatever, like I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah. I think Colin and I had a hard time with that. Not that he had that, but it was more like me. Like, I felt guilty almost. Like, I'm like, this isn't my money. But, like, Colin and I have been together for 10 years. And so, and we've been married for 4. So, like, part of me is like, well, we've combined our bank accounts, like, before we even got married. As soon as we moved in together, we combined our bank accounts. And so, that's always been the way that it was. So, we started like sharing our money before I was even staying at home, but it is different when you're not contributing financially. Like, I know you and David have like an allowance thing, and I think that like sometimes I think that that would be good, but then I'm like, I don't know if that's enough.
Yeah, I feel like I was always better with money, and so I took on the role as like, well, David used to call me his financial advisor.
I wish you were my financial advisor.
But he doesn't anymore. It's actually kind of disappointing. I'm going to have to remind him of this. But yeah, I think we joined bank accounts after we got engaged. I think that's when we did it. And I've just done it ever since then. We did go through a phase where like I paid everything via check and I would write everything out and then he'd like look at it and sign. But there was this one time that I wrote out a check for our credit card, and I don't know if you know this, but I'm dyslexic.
Oh yeah, I remember the story.
And I have systems in place to help me with this now, and so I hardly ever make mistakes now because of the way I check things. But every once in a while, something slips through the cracks, and I was writing out the check for our credit card, and I switched the last 2 numbers, and it made it like, I forget how much less that I paid. And so since I didn't pay the full amount, we got hit with like all the fees, all the interest, and I could have just about cried because at that time we were like, we would pay everything with our credit card for points and then pay off our credit card. And so it was a good amount, like a couple $1,000s that I had to pay interest on for a month. I was so ticked. And since then, I don't pay anything with checks. I was so old fashioned because I loved writing out checks, but not anymore. After that, I'm like, no, you're getting paid online so that I know for sure that I'm putting in the right amount.
I remember I used to save, like you would pay your bill and then you would save like your receipts and file them away.
Like balancing your checkbook. Do you still do that?
Okay, so here's a horrible story. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm going to say this out loud. Yes. Okay, I love balancing my checkbook. I have a checkbook. When we moved here, I went from a physical checkbook, because I was always writing out checks, to an Excel sheet checkbook because I stopped writing out checks. So it was more just debit card entries, which wasn't a lot because we do the credit card point things. So it's not a lot.
And you don't need to keep track of that because you just need to know what the like due, and then you pay that.
So I had Bo last January, and of course he was NICU and a bunch of other things that we were dealing with for 7 months, 8 months, medical things. And it came to the end of the year last year, and I was sitting down looking at stuff, and I'm like, you know what, I didn't balance a checkbook this month. And so I got in the Excel sheet. I had not balanced it since Bo was born.
You should. I need a template.
I could have thrown up. I could have thrown up.
I mean, technically, you don't need to balance the checkbook.
Yes,
right?
you do. What if someone charged you the wrong amount? What if the bank screwed up?
Then you just go back through your email and your
girls.
Okay, but Ariana and I are the same age, and so you're like old, and you're kind of that's like a little nerdy of you. I'd love to balance my checkbook. Mm-mm.
So I feel like
that's normal though, right?
For
do people just not balance their checkbooks anymore?
I don't feel like young people do, and I don't.
Well, just look at the account.
Myself young, but
yeah, money's
like,
there.
Check your online banking account.
Yeah, it does it for you.
No,
it does it for
no. No.
Can you be my financial advisor?
I thought you had one. His name's Colin.
No, he's very bad at it. I think money makes him nervous.
You just said he was really good at it.
He's good with, like, knowing it, but he's bad with, like...
his own personal stuff?
Handling it.
You just make him nervous about it.
I guess so. Maybe it's because I spend so much money.
That's probably right. That's probably exactly what it is.
Well, and I think that it's hard because... So Ariana would understand this. So, like, since I don't work, and I only work part-time... I don't have, like, I can't be on any of our stuff because I have debt from school. And so since I don't have income, or I have very low income because I'm only working part-time, I couldn't be on, like, our car loan and our house. I'm not on the mortgage. I'm on, like, the deed, but I'm not on the mortgage because I would have brought us down. Like, it would have hurt us. So I think that stresses Colin out too because it's like he carries so much on him. And I don't know where I was going with that, but, like, I think that stresses him out. Like, I think that that's stressful for him, which I understand that. But then also in my mind, like, I'm doing so much at home with the kids that I'm like, I don't care what you have to do. Like, that's your one job. Like, then that's like my mind, like, that's a man thing. Like, you need to manage the money. He's working and he brings home the income, so I feel like he should manage the income. Like, it's like, that's like, oh, give me your paycheck so I can divvy it up and figure it out. Like, that's weird to me.
See, in my previous relationship, which was a long-term relationship of 7 years, we had joined money. No, we did not have joined money for a while. But we did live together, and I was bamboozled, okay? I was in a long-term relationship of 7 years, and we kept our money separate. We lived together, and I was bamboozled. And I was bamboozled several times, and it's giving me trauma, okay?
Like, you know what? Now I'm thinking about it.
This person actually, when I said, okay, bills are due, 1, 2, 3, this is how much you owe, and they had to break down and tell me that they didn't have anything because they had been purchasing prescription drugs. And that happened 3 times. And after that,
I guess that's kind of like what happens when you don't have shared accounts.
You have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
And, you know,
I think that's crazy.
Matured
like married people that don't have shared bank accounts.
Matured Caitlin would have said, and that's when I left. But I wasn't mature back then. I was young, and so my answer was, okay, we're going to have a joint bank account, and I'm paying the bills. And so, of course, from all of that and trauma, I'm like, I have to be involved. I have to be involved. I'm never going to be bamboozled again. I
also feel like adding in here that as an outsider looking into your relationship.
My previous relationship?
Yes.
Okay.
There was lots of, like, mothering going on. Like, not healthy relationship. So, like, you totally different scenario of, like, now, your relationship now, but it was more of, like, you taking care of him and following up on him, and that makes a difference, too.
Well, yeah, that's what happens when you're taking care of a drug addict, and...
Well, and that makes sense because what you said about, like, when you got with David, he made you want to be a traditional wife because you could trust him. You never had, like, any hesitation there. And that's exactly obviously right. Different than your last relationship.
Yep. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
It takes a traditional man to make a traditional wife.
Yeah.
And if you try to be a traditional wife with somebody who is not a traditional man. It's just not going to work. Do you know Chris and Peaches?
No.
On TikTok?
No.
To Be Better?
I don't TikTok, so.
Caitlin, I realize, is obsessed with TikTok.
I always wonder, like, how you're on TikTok and you see so much.
She sees
when you're
so
busy.
much.
Like,
It's because she sacrifices all of her personal time to be on TikTok.
Yeah.
The 12 hours a day she should be, like, sleeping and resting, she's on TikTok. 4 o'clock in the morning. Did you see this on TikTok? No, Caitlin, I'm asleep. At 9 o'clock at night, I go to bed. Like,
the information sharing on TikTok, I do have an addiction. It's
I mean, it's good. Like, you're what I would consider chronically online.
Yeah, you're right. But I also feel like, I don't know, and there's like something wrong with you that you can't sit with yourself. I think that's part of it.
Oh, trauma dumping. Here's the candy bowl.
We should do that.
We should. That would be good. That would be good.
Have you seen that?
I've seen that.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, we should do that.
Except we should do that. The one I watched was really bad. It was
no, some of them were like really traumatic.
Yes. There's this one between. It's just two friends in the car and they're trauma candy dumping together. And the one, I might have sent it to you where it's like, I forget her name, like Samantha or something, and they were like, Samantha's seen some life, and it was bad. I only watched part of it, and I'm like, girl, I can't even handle my own sweet. It was bad.
I actually just started, this is like totally off topic, but maybe I'll bring this up like on another episode. I just started reading this book about like generational trauma, and it is really interesting. Like, the science behind it, and it's like more than just like it can be physically inside of you. The generational trauma, like it can come like through your DNA.
Yes.
That's insane.
Yes, I have read stuff on that.
Yeah, but that's kind of beside the point. But anyways, so with like the trad wife like kind of thing, I wrote down like I thought about it in like a religious aspect, and like you and I never really talked about our marriage roles until recently, because in my mind I was always like, oh, well, like religiously you wanted to be a traditional wife, and it wasn't until like we were just at the beach a few weeks ago and I was like, is that like how you view it? Like, is that how you view your relationship? Like, biblically, like you want to be a traditional wife? Like, we did like a marriage study a few years ago in Sunday school, and it was like love and respect, and it was about like traditional marriage roles, like gender roles, man and woman, and that kind of talked about being a traditional wife and a traditional husband. And I was like, I mean, I think that was like pretty informational. Like, I thought it was like, it had some good stuff in there.
Yeah, you said you still pull from it.
I do. It was a really good study, but I still wouldn't consider myself a traditional wife, because there is a lot that we both do. Like, we both do almost equal amount of child care, I would say, even though it's pretty split.
So, To Be Better with Chris and Peaches.
Yeah.
You should look it up.
Okay.
I'm going to send it to you. If you've never listened to them, they may make you feel uncomfortable, but I think it's just because of how strong they come across. But they are gender roles, traditional wife, traditional husband, biblical wife, biblical husband, and they let you know it. And she was in it. They had previous relationships, but they talk about it. They talk about biblical submission and all of it. And they take a lot of like viewer questions. And there was this one today that I saw. Well, there was actually two. This one actually made me click on another one, but they were replying to this comment, and it was something that I'd never thought about before. And so nobody attacked me. This is actually from To Be Better. But they were talking about gender roles, and somebody commented about, they said that they were gay and that they still have gender roles within their relationship. And so Chris's reply to that was, you're not telling me anything like we don't already know, because we hire all types of people, and we have people from the LGBTQ plus. But there's other stuff in there too.
No.
Yeah, I think there's like IA.
LGBTQIA, but that is the plus. You said LQGGD.
I know, because I'm dyslexic. I got messed up.
I thought, wow, bad girl. She don't even know.
Anyway, he's like, we hire people from, the community all the time, and we see firsthand that there are gender roles within those relationships. But guess what? they don't get crapped on for it. It's only like the traditional wife and the traditional husband that you hear about.
I think this is my take on it, right? So I would consider myself more of like a feminist. But I think that being a feminist means that you have to accept every woman's choice for how they live their life. If they want to be a 50s housewife and get dolled up and make pies all day and like look nice when their husband comes home, that's 100% their choice. They should be able to do that. And you should be like, yes, I support that. And also like women that are like, oh, I never want to get married or have kids, that's fine too. But like I would never like shit on someone else's like choice for how they want to do it. And so if you want to be a stay-at-home mom and like you want to be like 100% like a biblical traditional housewife, like that is your right to do it. And no one should be like, well, you shouldn't submit to a man, blah blah blah. That's their choice. Like that's in your marriage and that's your choice. Like maybe you wouldn't do it that way, but like you can do whatever you want in your own relationship, you know what I mean? And even if it's like, like a gay couple or lesbian couple or a non-binary couple, like you're still going to have those roles. Mm-hmm. People are still going to operate in their relationship however works best for them. And that's really what it comes down to is how does your relationship operate the best? One person does the majority of the housework, one person brings in the majority of the income, and that's usually how I think it's defined. Who brings in the majority of the income, and then the other person usually does the rest of the stuff. Most of the time, I feel like, unless you're like evenly split on like income, then it's really personal preference, I guess.
I get sometimes where I don't know exactly how I feel because I used to be so independent and that mindset and a feminist, like hardcore. I was like, what's her name? Drew.
Buffalo?
Yeah, I was like, screw men. Like, who runs the world? Girls. Like, whatever. And I think that's why when I watch her, like, I love her. I love her stuff. She makes me laugh. But sometimes when I watch her and she's really hating on men, it makes me uncomfortable because...
But she's also in a heterosexual relationship. Like, she's engaged to a man, too. Yeah. It's just, like, hers is different. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think you can have it both ways. Like, I think that you can work full-time and still be a traditional wife. And I think you could also, like, stay home and be, like, lazy and do nothing. And your partner might be like, that's cool with me. It's really just personal preference, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think I disagree with... I think I disagree with how you say, I think you can still work full-time and be a traditional wife. I don't think you can.
In terms of, like, well, what is traditional, like, by, like, the, like, definition of traditional life?
I think,
you can still,
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think that if you want to be a traditional wife, like, the definition of traditional wife, you wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Or you would do something, like, where you're not bringing home the majority of it.
Even join, like, your local sewing club.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it wouldn't work. You would do, like, own body things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even these trad wife TikTokers, I almost want to say, I don't know.
You're not. You're bringing home
you are bringing home a paycheck and you're spending half of your day editing these videos for... That's a job.
I think a trad wife, your number one priority is your home and your family.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you're letting anything else get beyond that, then you're not a trad wife anymore.
I agree. Would you agree?
I would agree.
But I think that there can be a combination. Like, you can still serve, I think you can still serve your husband and do the majority of the cooking and the cleaning and work full time. I mean, that's kind of what you do.
I would not say that I am a great wife.
Here's where I would, like, draw the line on your theory of you can have both. Is, do they have kids, yes or no? Because I feel like once you add kids into the equation, you can no longer do both things great.
Yes.
Yeah.
You do one thing great and the other one half.
Exactly.
And so if you're a traditional wife, but you don't have kids yet, sure, maybe you could have
a
part-time job.
Yeah.
And still keep up with your housework. But once you add kids in, you've got a whole nother schedule. You've got more stuff to manage.
Yeah. I agree with that because I feel like I'm always failing somewhere. Either my kids don't have my full attention, or my job doesn't have my full attention, or the house doesn't have my full attention. Usually the house never has my full attention.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's be real. But
never gets it all. There's always something. And honestly, we put Emma in dance, and now that preschool's in, I think the first week of preschool, we ordered out 3 times. Like, I felt so guilty about it, but I literally couldn't do it. I literally couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with that. I think if you have kids, you can't work if you want to be a traditional wife. If you don't have kids, you might be able to get away with it. But
yeah. I mean, the only way I could like see it is I feel like I've had so many different views on this because I just know so many different people that do so many different things. So my sister and her husband work full time, but his mom watches their kids. Their kids don't go to daycare. And so like she still would probably consider herself to be more of a traditional wife, but just like based on the things that she does. But
you're saying you think she thinks that she is a traditional wife?
I would think so.
But someone else takes care of her kids all day.
No, but like
no.
the type of stuff that she does,
no.
she's probably like, well, I do all the cooking and the cleaning.
No.
I mean,
but
I wouldn't think so.
Like, you're not managing your children most of the day.
Yeah.
So, like, my question would be, like, how many hours a day does she have the children while they are awake? And she's actively, like, parenting and controlling and teaching.
Yeah, and I'm not being nasty about this. No, I'm just saying
these are the
to say that these are the guidelines. Yeah. I wouldn't say you're a traditional wife.
I guess I was seeing it more like a gray area, and I guess it is black and white. Like, you're either a traditional wife or you're something else.
Or you're like part-time traditional wife.
Yeah.
I don't know what that term would be, actually. Maybe we should make a new term up, but
like, to me, your kids are an extension of your household.
Yeah.
Like, they're in your household. So, like, if you're not managing them most of the time, then you're on other side of the line. But
I think it was easy for me to do it all when I just had one kid because I didn't work. I just worked part-time, like, very occasionally, and then I had one kid, and then I had the house. Man, I could do that all day. But then when I had the second kid, I was like, chore chart, you're gonna have to start helping out. Because before, when I just had one, I did everything. I didn't even ask for help. Like, I was even folding the laundry. But then when I had the second kid, he about took me out. Oh, no. And then I was like, it was rough. And then I was like, I need you to help more. And then I felt really, really guilty asking him for more help because I'm like, well, he's going to work and he's providing and he's doing all this stuff and I'm just here. I'm just here at home with the kids. Like, I should be able to just do it. But I think when you tell yourself, I should be able to do this, that's where you, like, get into, like, the mindset of, like, yeah, it's, like, negative. Like, I was in a really bad place for a while because I was like, I should be able to do this. Like, I don't work. But it's, like, watching kids and keeping, like, my kids were 2 under 2. Like, Sonora was 16 months old when I had Sullivan. She was still, like, a baby. And, like, you know how it is. It's so hard with 2 babies. Like, they're both still in diapers. They both don't really talk that much. Like, Sullivan was, like, nursing around the clock, like, didn't sleep, all the things. And then you have this toddler. I'm like, I can't even wash myself. Like, let alone keep up with my house. So I did need to ask for more help. It's easier now, but, like, I can't imagine having, like, 4 kids and doing it. I don't know how you do it. Like, I think about it all the time. Like, I think about how you do it and, like, work. And I'm, like, here, like, I just got these 2 kids in this house. And I'm, like, struggling.